Good morning, everyone. I've got geese that I'm looking at sitting on the bank next to the water. They're just kind of getting the grass there. They may take off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were geese that were born here, if you remember my videos from a long time ago, last year, which isn't that far, but early last year, springtime. I was feeding baby geese here, watching them grow up. All right, so this year has not started off real good for America, and surprisingly so. Now, they were very careful with their terrorist attacks that happened. They made sure that they used homegrown people to do it. They didn't want to get caught with these people coming in. The question that I've got, this was planned and organized, and they had a lot of weapons. They didn't do a good job because they had other bombs that didn't go off. They planted some. The remote control unit wasn't used to set them off, so they could have easily set them off when the police found them, and they didn't. So something went wrong. But where'd they get all this stuff from? Now, the vehicles were both rented from the same app online, and they were both used for terror. This is what terrorism does. It doesn't have to be totally successful to be terror. People were killed. I think the current death toll in New Orleans is 15. Nobody was injured in the Vegas bombing because they used a Tesla truck. Elon Musk came on and said that the truck was so well built, and they had it in the back where the bed of the truck is, that it directed all the blast up because it was so well built. It didn't even take out the doors in the front of the building that they were in front of the Trump building. So they're starting off the year letting us know, and at the same, I think it was the next day, there was a massive Hamas rally in New York. You got to be kidding me, people. Come on. This country just showed in their voting they don't want you here. You've only got less than 20 days. I don't know what day this is. This is terrible. You're going to see this on the 3rd or the 4th. I don't know. They have a very little time to do this. And I think that what we saw on the 1st is just a foretaste of what's coming. I would be very careful about going to large gatherings unless they've told you that the security is at the highest level. And then, who do you believe? I think the FBI is gathering up all the evidence of they can put it in the same place that they put Hunter's laptop and Epstein's list and all these other places, never to be found again, because these are the people that they love. Our administration is responsible for these attacks. Okay, so what do we got coming between now and, well, any time this year? It doesn't have to be before the inauguration. It could be at the inauguration. Trump's supposed to be having a pre-inauguration party the night before. I hope he's got security forces there that are not part of the government, because we saw what good job they did when he was at that one meeting and he got his ear nicked. Those were government security forces who didn't care if he got killed. Okay. Let's see, we've covered all this stuff now. What else is going on in the news? The FBI seized over 150 explosives, including pipe bombs, from a man in Virginia. This is the tip of the iceberg. We see what, Israel's doing when they go into Gaza or Lebanon and they find these stores, and yet they kill people and take their weapons time after time, day after day, and yet they keep firing missiles at Israel. Thousands and thousands and thousands of weapons are there that were used against Israel. It's going to take forever to get rid of all that. You cannot put back in anything other than an Israeli-controlled government in any of these states. That's my grass. Get away from it. They're shooing everybody away. These are apparently two different families. Okay. Other news. Here in Atlanta, I don't know how long this, years, 20, 30 years, whatever it is, the radio station, The Fish, it's a Christian radio station, is going off the air. Now, I've still got Joy FM, but still, we shouldn't be turning off Christian radio stations, but apparently there's either not enough viewers or not enough advertising. And too bad they can't wait out this inauguration and we get the people back in gear again. But we're finding that, as I mentioned in my previous videos, churches are declining. Membership is declining. Well, we got the ranger coming, so I'm going to stop this and I'll come back to it. I hadn't seen the ranger in a couple of days, so we have to cover what's going on in the camp. Okay, let's get back to this. I guess I was talking about the radio station going off the air. That's sad because it's a way to reach the public. And if you're playing your Christian radio station at work and they let you, it's helping work. Okay, another thing going on. I've mentioned before that we got a bunch of astronomical things coming up. I think right now, for like 4 or 5 days, we have a major meteor shower coming. We're in the middle of a path of a bunch of meteors. So go out in the evening and watch. I think it's over the southern sky and see what you can see. Saturn is the closest to the Earth, and so is Mars. I think Jupiter is too at some point in time. It's closer than it normally is. But those are big, bright stars anyway, and there's going to be an alignment this month. So that's what's coming. The magnetic North Pole, we know, doesn't stay in one spot. The magnetic north is not on the North Pole. It's been in Canada, and it's kind of just doing a circle up there for a little while. We use it for navigation. Before we had GPS, you had to have a magnetic compass in, like an airplane. I've flown, so you had to use that. We didn't have GPS when I flew. We're lucky we had anything. But in any case, you have to calculate a deviation based on where you are in the country if you're flying in the United States. And so you had to know whether to add or subtract from it, because it's not true north. It's northerly, and it's far enough away that if you calculate it properly, you can handle what you're doing. If you're navigating on the ground with a compass, here in the United States, it's going to get you where you need to go. If you're traveling hundreds of miles or thousands of miles, you might be off by 20 or 50 miles if you're not using it properly. But anyhow, it's moving towards Siberia, which means it's kind of going off to the west. And at some point in time, we don't know exactly when, it's going to flip. If you're taking your compass right now, technically, when you're pointing the compass and it's pointing north, you're actually pointing to the south pole of the magnet. But it's going to flip again. It's flipped a number of times, and we've found, fossilized things where we can get the magnetic pole out of it, and we can see that the poles have changed over time. It's a big molten thing down there that can move around. And the only reason that it's magnetic is because iron formed at the center first, because it's heavy. Gold and everything, all the heavy metals would have been with it. If we didn't have volcanic activity, none of that would come up. It all stay down there. But we have gold mines and everything because of volcanic activity. Okay, so that's changing. Where are we? Come on. So anyhow, they're having to recalibrate the planes and everything, but they're using other forms of navigation now. GPS is used in the air as well, but they always compare with the magnetic to make sure that they're okay. I guess that's basically all the new news, what's going on. Be safe, people. Pay attention. Be careful about traveling alone, because we have all these terrorists here in this country that were let in by our terrorist government. I'm expecting more activity than what we just had on the 1st. Just look at the thousands and thousands of people, Hamas supporters, Palestinian supporters, marching in New York. All those people hate the United States. Why are they here? Yeah, they don't hate it that bad. But they're getting paid, probably, to do that. And there are some getting paid to cause terrorist attacks, and I'm looking to see a lot more between now and the 20th. And he better have all kinds. He and Trump and Musk and all this team, they need to have top security anywhere they go. And they don't need to be broadcasting where they're going all the time. I know that they got to get people there and they got to know about it. But still, they've got to have enough time. One of the reasons that some of these celebrities show up late to events so security can have their time to run through the people looking for suspicious characters. That's one of the reasons that they're late. The other reason they're late is they're just celebrities and they can be late. But we're not done yet. I'm not surprised at January 1st. I'm surprised it hasn't happened more. So between now and the 20th, expect more attacks. Be safe. You should have, that's one thing that I wanted to mention, you should have a bug-out bag. Now, what's a bug-out bag? A bag in your trunk of your car that means that you can go get resources if you're not near civilization or town or your home. You should have a first aid kit in it, as elaborate as you have the ability to use. If you've got splints and you find somebody on the road that's been in a car accident and you know how to apply a splint, have a splint with you. If you don't know how to use a tourniquet, don't. But just use pressure. I'm not giving medical advice. This is what I would do. Okay? If you don't know CPR, you can call 911 and they can walk you through it. Okay? You got to know how to do the right number of breaths to compression ratio per people. And if you're not blocking off the airway and you're blowing into the airway, you could be filling air into the stomach instead of the lungs. So you have to tilt the head back and all the stuff. You should get certified. I've been certified. I'm not current, but I know what I'm doing. And I'm not sure what the current numbers are, but I know what I had before. And if I was calling 911, I would start it and they would adjust it for me if I needed to. It's based on size, body weight. You don't do the same type of the number of compressions and amount of air with a child as you would with an adult. So go to these schools. You can breathe into these dummies and see how it works. They actually have dummies and they have little plastic things they put over their mouth so you're not putting your mouth where somebody else has been. But it's a life-saving thing. Everybody should know how to do it. Get some first aid training if you don't have it. If you've got a family, you should have first aid training. The kids are going to get hurt. You know, if you don't know what to do, it could leave a scar. It could be more dangerous. Know what to do. Know what epileptic shock is. Do you have an EpiPen? That's something that you should have in your first aid kit. And then periodically pull these things out and go through them. I have in my collection a World War II first aid kit. Everything's in boxes and plastic. I wouldn't trust that for anything, but it's a fun antique to look at. But if you've got one now, once a year you should pull it out, open everything up, just make sure the quantities are there. If there's drugs in there, make sure they're still good. If not, replace them. It's something that it's got to be there for you, and if you don't make sure it's right, it won't be there for you when you need it. Snake bite kit, EpiPen, some standard drugs, painkillers, Tylenol, things like that. Whatever you think you might need, you should have in this first aid kit, as well as bandages, tape, some butterfly things to put over cuts, things like that. You can pull them together. That's the kind of stuff you need to know how to use and have handy. My hands are getting cold. There's very little wind, which is why I can be out here and do this. And I am without a jacket, although I'm a little chilly. Okay? We've got 20-degree weather coming. And we're working on a possible indoor solution, but it's not defined yet. So we're working on it. So keep your prayers in mind for that. That's all I really have. Just be safe. Have your bug out bag. Have a couple of granola bars in there. It's not the best of food to eat. Wheat, if you watch these keto diet things, oats and things like that are meant to fatten up animals. They're not meant to make us healthy. But if you need something to eat, they're fine to have. I actually keep protein bars as opposed to granola bars. So I'm at least going to know I'm going to get protein. You can put some tea bags in there. You can always boil water. You can make tea. If you want to, you can also get coffee bags. Just like tea bags, only there's coffee in them. And you can make coffee that way, one at a time. Of course, you could brew a pot if you've got all that. Now, I've got all the camping stuff. But quite frankly, I'm lazy nowadays. I don't want to have to do all that. My coffee pot can make a full pot, but right next to it, built into it, is a Keurig. I have 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day. I use the Keurig. It's cheaper than throwing out a whole pot of coffee every day because I don't drink that much. Be frugal, but have what you need. And don't go anywhere without thinking about it. Tell somebody where you're going. Make sure they're aware of it. If you're going to go to a big event, don't go alone. Be careful. People can drive their cars into crowds. Don't be near the entrance. I'm surprised that he was able to get in because people haven't done this before. But it's a new trend to drive into crowds, okay? Somebody did it a few weeks ago, and now it's copycats. So they're going to have to start putting barricades up to keep cars from coming in. Now, they might just put explosives in that, so they're going to have to put the barricades far enough back. We adapt. At least an honest government willing to protect the people will adapt. If you don't see that, don't hang around near the entrance. Get inside fast. Be safe. We've got to get the message out. You got to be alive to do that. Tell people about Jesus because there's no other way. Until we meet in the clouds, God bless.